Welcome to Shadowlands Ghosts, the place where the veil between reality and the unknown is at its thinnest. I'm your host, Raven Blackwood, and I'll be your guide through the darkest corners of the human experience. This channel is dedicated to sharing the stories that lurk in the shadows, the ones that make you question what's real and what's just a product of your imagination. As I sit here in my cozy little study, surrounded by old books and the faint scent of sandalwood, I feel a sense of comfort and tranquility. The soft glow of the candles casts flickering shadows on the walls, and the grandfather clock in the corner ticks away with a soothing rhythm. But as the darkness gathers outside and the wind whispers through the trees, I'm reminded that even in the most ordinary of settings, there lies a world of terror and mystery waiting to be uncovered. Tonight, we'll be delving into a story that begins with an innocent inheritance. A man receives an antique clock that's been passed down through his family for generations. It's a beautiful piece with intricate carvings and a soft, melodious chime. But, as he soon discovers, this clock has a mind of its own. It chimes at strange times and whispers his name in the dead of night. You'll be hearing this story from the lead character's perspective, and I warn you, it's not for the faint of heart. But if you're ready to step into the shadows and face the unknown, then join us on this journey. So, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and join our little family of ghost hunters and thrill seekers. We'll be sharing new stories and experiences every week, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. Let's venture into the Shadowlands together and see what terrors and wonders lie within. As I sit in my dimly lit study, the soft glow of the evening sun casts long shadows across the walls, and the air is filled with the faint scent of old books and the faint whisper of memories. It's a place I've grown accustomed to over the years, a sanctuary of sorts where I can retreat from the world and immerse myself in the stories of my family's past. My grandfather's old armchair, with its worn, velvet cushions, stands like a sentinel in the corner, a reminder of the countless hours we spent together, listening to tales of our ancestors and the secrets they kept. Among the many artifacts that adorn the shelves and mantel, one piece stands out, an antique clock with intricate carvings of leaves and vines that seem to twist and writhe in the flickering candlelight. It's a beautiful piece, one that's been passed down through generations of my family, but it's also a reminder of the strange and inexplicable events that have been a part of our history. As I gaze at the clock, I'm struck by the feeling that it's watching me, its silent face seeming to hold secrets that it's waiting to share. The ticking of its mechanism is like a steady heartbeat, a reminder that time is always passing, and the past is always waiting to catch up. My name is Elijah, and I've inherited this clock from my great-uncle, a man I never knew but whose stories and legends have been passed down to me through my family. I've always been fascinated by the clock, with its strange and mysterious carvings, and the way it seems to come alive in the silence of the night. It's been a week since I received the clock, and I've been waiting for it to chime, to hear the sweet, melodious sound that my family has spoken of for generations. But so far, there's been nothing. Just the steady tick-tock of the mechanism, and an unsettling feeling that I'm being watched. As I sit here, surrounded by the shadows of the evening, I feel a growing sense of unease, a feeling that something is waiting just beyond the edge of perception, watching and waiting for its moment to strike. And I know that when the clock finally chimes, it will be more than just a simple sound. It will be a doorway to a world of terror and mystery that I'm not sure I'm ready to face. But for now, I'll just sit here and wait and watch the clock as it ticks away, its secrets and mysteries locked within its ancient, mechanical heart. As the days pass, I find myself becoming increasingly enthralled by the clock's presence. I spend hours sitting in the armchair, watching the way the candlelight dances across its intricate carvings. The ticking of the mechanism is like a lullaby, soothing and familiar, yet it also seems to be drawing me deeper into a world of unease. I start to notice strange occurrences around the house. Doors creak open and shut on their own, and I catch glimpses of movement out of the corner of my eye. At first, I dismiss it as the old house settling, but as the events become more frequent, I begin to feel a growing sense of dread. One night, I wake up to the sound of whispers in my ear. The words are indistinguishable, but the voice is low and raspy, sending shivers down my spine. I sit up in bed, my heart racing, and look around the room, but I'm alone. I try to convince myself that it was just a dream, but the memory of the voice stays with me, lingering in the shadows of my mind. As I go about my day, I start to notice strange symbols etched into the walls and furniture. They seem to be some sort of code, but I have no idea what they mean. I try to ignore them, but they seem to be everywhere, watching me, waiting for me to decipher their secrets. I start to feel like I'm losing my grip on reality. The clock seems to be exerting some kind of influence over me, drawing me deeper into a world of madness and terror. I try to stay away from it, but I find myself drawn back to it again and again, like a moth to a flame. One night, I decide to investigate the clock further. I take it down from the mantel and examine it closely, searching for any hidden mechanisms or clues. As I turn it over in my hands, I notice a small inscription on the back. It's a name etched into the metal in elegant script, Emilia. I have no idea who Emilia is, but the name sends a shiver down my spine. I feel like I'm getting closer to uncovering the secrets of the clock, but I'm not sure if I'm ready for what I might find. As I put the clock back on the mantel, I hear a faint whisper in my ear. It's the same voice I heard before, but this time, I make out the words. "Welcome, Elijah," it says. "I've been waiting for you." I spin around, but there's no one there. The room is empty, except for the clock, which seems to be watching me with an unblinking gaze. I feel a sense of dread wash over me, and I know that I'm not alone in the house. Something is here with me, waiting for the clock to chime, and I have a feeling that when it does, my world will never be the same again. As I spin around, the whisper still echoing in my ear, I feel a chill run down my spine. The clock seems to be looming over me, its intricate carvings twisting into a macabre grin. The room is empty, but I know I'm not alone. The voice, the whispers, the symbols on the walls, it's all connected to the clock and to the name Emilia. Suddenly, the clock's mechanism clicks into motion, the gears whirring to life. The ticking grows louder, more insistent, and I feel a sense of inevitability wash over me. The clock is counting down to something, and I have a feeling that when it chimes, the very fabric of reality will unravel. I take a step back, my eyes fixed on the clock's face. The numbers seem to be shifting, rearranging themselves into a new pattern. And then, I see it, a hidden message etched into the clock's surface. It's a single phrase, repeated over and over, the hour of Emilia's return. Emilia! Who is she? What does she want? The questions swirl in my mind as the clock's ticking grows louder, more urgent. I feel like I'm trapped in a nightmare, with no escape from the horror that's unfolding around me. The clock's mechanism is accelerating, the gears whirring faster and faster. I can feel the air thickening, the tension building. It's almost time. The clock is going to chime, and when it does, I close my eyes, bracing myself for the worst. But as I do, I hear the voice again, whispering in my ear. Elijah, you shouldn't have looked so closely. Now you'll never be able to look away. The clock chimes, the sound echoing through the room like a death knell. I open my eyes to see the clock's face transformed, the numbers replaced by a single, glowing word, Emilia. As I watch, the clock's surface begins to distort, like ripples on a pond. And then, a figure begins to take shape, emerging from the very fabric of the clock itself. It's a woman, her face twisted into a grotesque grin. Emilia. She's here. She's been waiting for me. And now, I'm trapped in a living nightmare, with no escape from the horror that's unfolding around me. As Emilia's form solidifies, the room around me begins to warp and distort, as if reality itself is bending to accommodate her presence. The air is thick with an unspeakable malevolence, and I can feel her gaze upon me, like a cold, dead weight. I try to step back, but my feet feel rooted to the spot, unable to move as she takes a step closer. Her eyes are black as coal, and they seem to bore into my very soul. I can feel my heart racing, my breath coming in short, ragged gasps. Emilia's grin grows wider, her lips stretching across her face like a grotesque parody of a smile. You should not have looked so closely, Elijah, she hisses, her voice like a rusty gate scraping against concrete. Now you'll never be able to look away. As she speaks, her body begins to change, her limbs stretching and contorting in ways that defy human anatomy. Her skin is deathly pale, and it seems to be crawling with tiny, writhing tendrils that pulse with a dark, otherworldly energy. I try to scream, but my voice is frozen in my throat. I'm paralyzed with fear, unable to move or speak as Emilia takes another step closer. The clock's ticking has stopped, replaced by a deafening silence that's even more terrifying. I can feel the weight of Emilia's presence crushing me, suffocating me beneath its oppressive weight. And then she reaches out a twisted, elongated hand and touches my face. Her skin is cold, clammy, and it feels like 1,000 needles pricking at my skin. I try to pull away, but she holds me fast, her grip like a vice. As I look into her eyes, I see a madness there, a deep-seated insanity that's beyond human comprehension. I see the abyss staring back at me, a void of unspeakable horror that threatens to consume me whole. The world around me begins to dissolve, reality unraveling like a thread pulled from a sweater. I'm trapped in a living nightmare, with no escape from the horror that's unfolding around me. And then, everything goes black. When I come to, I'm lying on the floor, the clock looming above me like a monolith. The room is silent, the ticking stopped. But as I look up at the clock's face, I see a message etched into the surface, a single phrase that makes my blood run cold. The hour of Elijah's return. I realize, with a jolt of horror, that I'm not the protagonist of this story. I'm the next victim. And Emilia is still out there, waiting for me. As I lie on the floor, the message on the clock's face burning into my mind, I feel a creeping sense of dread that threatens to consume me. I'm trapped in a never-ending cycle of terror, with Emilia as the puppeteer pulling the strings. The clock's silence is oppressive, a heavy blanket that suffocates me with its weight. I try to scramble to my feet, but my legs feel like jelly, and I collapse back onto the floor with a whimper. The darkness seems to be closing in around me, and I can feel Emilia's presence lurking just out of sight, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The message on the clock's face seems to be seared into my brain, a constant reminder that I'm not the hero of this story. I'm the next victim, the next pawn in Amelia's twisted game of horror. And with that realization comes a sense of hopelessness, a feeling that I'm trapped in a living nightmare from which I'll never awaken. As I look around the room, I see that everything is still and silent. The only sound the soft hum of the clock's mechanism. But I know that's just an illusion. The clock is waiting, ticking away in silence, waiting for the hour of my return. Waiting for the moment when Amelia will come for me again. I try to scream, but my voice is trapped in my throat. I'm paralyzed with fear, unable to move or speak as the darkness closes in around me. And in the distance, I hear the sound of Amelia's laughter, a cold, mirthless sound that sends shivers down my spine. The clock's face seems to be looming over me, its message burning into my mind like a branding iron. The hour of Elijah's return. I know that I'll never be able to escape, that I'll be trapped in this cycle of horror forever. And as the darkness closes in around me, I feel Amelia's presence drawing near. I can feel her cold, clammy breath on the back of my neck, and I know that I'm doomed. The clock silence is the only sound I can hear, and I know that it's waiting for me, waiting for the moment when I'll be dragged back into the abyss of horror that awaits me. The last thing I see is the clock's face, the message burning into my mind as the darkness closes in around me. And then everything goes black. Epilogue, the hour of Elijah's return. The clock's silence was oppressive, heavy with the weight of anticipation. It had been years since the last scream was heard, years since the last victim fell prey to Amelia's twisted game. But the clock remained, a constant reminder of the horror that lay in wait. In the darkness, a faint hum began to grow, a soft whisper that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. It was a sound that only a few had heard before, a sound that signaled the clock's gears were turning once more. As the hum grew louder, the shadows seemed to twist and writhe on the walls, like living things. And then, in the distance, a faint voice could be heard, a voice that whispered a single phrase over and over again. The hour of Elijah's return. The words seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time, echoing off the walls and reverberating deep within the listener's mind. And as they grew louder, the hum of the clock's mechanism seemed to synchronize with the beat of a heart that was slowly coming back to life. In the darkness, a figure began to take shape, a figure that seemed to be made of the very shadows themselves. It was a figure that moved with a stiff, jerky motion, as if it was being pulled by unseen strings. As the figure drew closer, the voice grew louder, the words more insistent. The hour of Elijah's return. And then, in a flash of insight, the truth became clear. Elijah was not the one who was returning. He was the one who had always been here, trapped in the clock's cycle of horror. And Amelia was not the puppeteer, but the puppet itself, a tool of some darker, more malevolent force. The figure drew closer, its face a twisted parody of Elijah's own. And as it reached out to touch the clock's face, the message seemed to change, the words shifting to reveal a new truth. The hour of our return. As the darkness closed in, the clock's mechanism seemed to wind down, the hum growing softer and softer until it was almost imperceptible. But the voice remained, echoing in the mind, a constant reminder that the horror was not truly over. The clock silence was not a sign of peace, but a sign of anticipation. For in the darkness, the mechanism was already beginning to turn once more, counting down the moments until the next victim would fall prey to the cycle of horror that waited within. And that's where our journey through the darkness comes to a temporary end. But the real question is, will you be here to uncover the truth when the clock starts ticking again? To everyone who has joined me on this twisted adventure, I want to say thank you. Your bravery and curiosity are what fuel my passion for creating these thrilling stories, and I'm honored to have you as part of this community. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and join the ranks of the fearless few who dare to confront the horrors that lurk in the shadows. By subscribing, you'll not only get access to more spine-tingling tales, but you'll also become part of a community that's driven by a shared passion for the unknown. And as a special thank you to my loyal subscribers, I'll be sharing exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and early access to upcoming episodes. You'll get to experience the thrill of discovery before anyone else, and I'll be right there with you, guiding you through the twists and turns of the narrative. So, don't wait any longer. Join the journey and subscribe to the channel now. Together, let's unravel the mysteries of the clock and uncover the secrets that lie within. The hour of our return is just around the corner, and I wouldn't want to face it without you by my side. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next episode.